Embers of Fate, River Shadow Rebirth. Chapter 1. The river is silent. The night was dark, and the cold wind rolled up the dead branches and slapped the river bank. Yoonjin knelt by the river, his hands trembling, and his eyes were full of dead silence. The stepmother's sharp voice was still echoing in her ears, and the price of the bride price was like an iron lock, pushing her into the abyss. The old widower's smile was as cold as a rotten fish gill. She didn't want to marry and be trampled on again. So she closed her eyes and jumped, and the cold river instantly drowned out her breath. As her consciousness gradually dissipated, a pair of rough but powerful hands grabbed her. She opened her eyes and saw a resolute face in a blur, Song Yu, the eldest son of Song, a man in military uniform. Since then, her fate seems to have been rewritten. Chapter 2. Song Family Fireworks. The Song family is not rich, but lively. When Song Yu took her back, Song's mother patted her thigh and scolded her, but in the blink of an eye, the hot soup was brought to the table. A few younger siblings giggled and called her sister-in-law, and the small courtyard was full of firewood and laughter. For the first time, Yoonjin felt what the temperature of home is. Song Yu didn't say much to her, but he always guarded the details. When he returned at night, he put his military boots gently. When she was sick, she carried the medicine bowl with her thick hands. Yoonjin felt that he might be able to live a peaceful life like this. However, the way of heaven is unkind, and happiness is always short-lived. Chapter 3. The Return of the Evil Letter. On a snowy winter day, bad news came from the barracks. Song Yu died on the front line, and his body could not be returned, leaving only a bloody letter. The Song family was like a bolt from the blue. Song's mother fainted from crying, and several younger siblings shouted ignorantly for the eldest brother to come back. Yoonjin's eyes were empty, and he was holding the letter tightly in his hand. His fingertips were oozing blood, but he was unconscious. Just when she was at a loss, the chains of fate sounded again. Her mother's family took advantage of the situation and forcibly brought her back, forcing her to marry the long-coveted widower. In despair, the weakness in her heart was finally forced into a sharp blade. Chapter 4. Fire Night Sky. That night, the fire was soaring into the sky. Yoonjin stared coldly at the wailing figure in the flames. Her heart was like ashes, and she only felt that all this should go with the wind. When the smoke engulfed her, she felt an unprecedented relief. However, death is not the end. She opened her eyes, but returned to the early morning of the day after the news of Song Yu's death came. The letter paper in his hand was still stained with blood, and there was a tapping sound outside the window. Chapter 5. Unexpected Promises. There was a figure standing outside the window, Qin Yanso, Song Yu's boss. His eyebrows were like knives, and his expression was serious but with a hint of forbearance. He whispered, "Before he died, he entrusted you to me. He said, you have to have someone to guard you." Yoonjin was stunned, and unspeakable emotions surged in his heart. She wanted to refuse, but the ending in the dream realm was like a sharp stone pressing on her chest. The Song family will be ruined, and the reborn woman and the mysterious system behind it are approaching step by step. She bit her lip, but she couldn't say a word of refusal. Chapter 6. Hidden Thoughts. The first time Qin Yanso saw Yoonjin was at Song Yu's wedding. At that time, she smiled shyly, with spring water hidden in her eyes. He dreamed of her, and when he woke up, he gave himself a hard slap. But when Song Yu begged him to take care of his wife, his heart could no longer be hidden. He understood that this was not a simple promise, but the only flutter of selfishness in his heart. Chapter 7. Nightmares and Omen. Yoonjin woke up every night, and in his dreams, he always saw the queen of the Wang family, Wei Li, with cold eyes and a jade pendant that emitted a faint light in her hand. She stepped on the broken tiles of the Song family's courtyard and sneered condescendingly. Yoonjin was cold all over, and he always felt that dreams were not just illusions. Qin Yanso noticed that she was restless, but did not ask questions. He only stayed quietly, allowing her to hold a pair of steady hands after the nightmare. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 8 The New Situation of the Wang Family. The Wang family's mansion is brightly lit. After Wang Walai was reborn, her smile always had an unfathomable meaning. She is familiar with every path she has taken in her previous life, knowing when to marry whom, when to show weakness, and when to fall into the trap. The Song family's predicament is just an old drama that can be used to her. She secretly activated the system in the jade pendant, allowing the cold electronic sound to echo in her ears. Mission has been updated. Seize the opportunity of the Song family. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 9 Song's Mother's Cry. Song's mother's tears have never dried. She dreamed that her eldest son was standing on the bloody battlefield and bowing to her from a distance. When I woke up, my heart hurt so much that I couldn't breathe. Yoonjin stayed by her side, but could only comfort her in a low voice. She knew Song's mother's suffering, but she also understood that a bigger storm was approaching. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 10 Qin Yanzhou's Choice. There was a call from the army, and Qin Yanzhou had to go to the border again. However, he was unwilling to let go of Yoonjin. Contradictions tear him apart. He is both a soldier and a guardian. In the end, he decided to place Yoonjin in the dependent area attached to the barracks and shelter him with military regulations. This decision made Wang Walai grit her teeth secretly. Because she knew that the system could not intervene in the barracks. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 11 The Hidden Shadow. At night, Yoonjin heard a faint whisper outside the window. When I opened the door, I saw a rickety old woman standing outside the courtyard wall, her eyes glowing with a strange blue light. She whispered, "Little lady, be careful with your fate, it's not something you can have." The voice fell, and the old woman turned into smoke and dispersed. Yoonjin's whole body trembled, but there was a hint of stubbornness in her heart. She wanted to protect the Song family and her only happiness. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 12 System Cracks. Wang Walai's system suddenly displayed an error message. The data flashed, as if interfered with by a certain force. She was terrified because this had never happened in a previous life. When she traced the source, she found that Qin Yanzhou's name appeared prominently. The system coldly prompted, "Unknown opponent, extremely risky." For the first time, she felt that the situation might not be entirely under her control. Chapter 13 Dark Clouds Are Coming. Qin Yanzhou's expedition was imminent, and on the day Yoonjin saw him off, the sky was low and dark clouds were overwhelming. She was panicked in her heart, but she could only hold his hand tightly and bury the unspoken words in her tears. Qin Yanzhou said softly, "No matter what happens, you have to wait for me." She nodded, but knew that there were thorns ahead. At night, she dreamed of Wang Walai again, the other party standing on the river of blood, sneering, "Do you think you can change your life with him?" Underscore 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 un. Chapter 14 The Hunting Ground of the System. Under the guidance of the system, Wang Walai recruited several local dignitaries in advance, and secretly invested in grain merchants and hoarded them. These opportunities, which should belong to the Song family's future, are being taken away by her one by one. She thought to herself, as long as Yoonjin can't turn over, those sweet fruits of fate will eventually fall into her hands. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 15 The Turmoil in the Dependent Area. Yoonjin was arranged in the military camp dependent area, thinking that he could be temporarily peaceful. Unexpectedly, soon after, several strangers sneaked in, under the pretense of delivering food, but in fact probed the inside of the barracks. Yoonjin was alert, saw through his lies, and reported it in time. This move made her gain the affirmation of the elders in the military for the first time. Wang Walai's face darkened when she heard this. She had thought Yoonjin was as weak as ever, but she hadn't expected him to dare to go against the tide. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 16 The Burning Phantom Fire. At midnight, Yunjin dreamed that she was in flames, but her hands were not burned. When she reached out, the flames obediently wrapped around her arms, swirling like a guard. After waking up from the dream, there were faint burning marks on his wrist. She knew that this was not an ordinary dream, but a precursor to some kind of awakening. Chapter 17 The Wang Family's Calculations. Wang Walai arranged for relatives to pretend to come to the door to show goodwill, but in fact secretly spread rumors, saying that Yunjin did not abide by the way of a woman and had an affair with Qin Yanzhou, just to cling to power. Rumors quickly spread in the market. Yunjin felt malice from all directions for the first time, but he also gritted his teeth and straightened his back for the first time. She said coldly in her heart, "That's it." Chapter 18 Guardian in Fire. When the rumor reached the army, Qin Yanzhou was furious and publicly denounced the rumor monger. He shielded Yunjin behind him and spoke in a steady voice, "She is the woman I will protect for the rest of my life. Anyone who dares to speak against her will become my enemy." These words shocked everyone in the hall. Yunjin had tears in his eyes, but secretly vowed in his heart to become the person who could stand side by side with him. Chapter 19 The undercurrent is surging. At night, Yunjin saw the rickety old woman again. This time, the old woman held a ray of blue fire on her fingertips and slowly handed it to her. "If you want to break the game, just accept it." Yunjin hesitated and finally stretched out his hand. The blue fire melted into her palm, and she felt that there seemed to be an extra strange but kind power in her blood. Chapter 20 Broken Rules. Wang Walai was shocked to realize that the system displayed a terrifying warning. The fate line was interfered with by external forces, and the plot was shifted. She screamed out of control, but she couldn't stop the data from being confused. When she traced the source, she suddenly saw Yunjin's name flashing in the warning list. She was terrified. This was definitely not in the trajectory of her previous life. Chapter 21 The Choice of Brother and Sister. Song Che, the younger brother of the Song family, is intelligent and clever, attracting the attention of local officials, who wish to recruit him as a retainer. Wang Walai immediately intervenes, attempting to recruit him. Upon learning of this, Yunjin ventures to the authorities, begging them to stay, and finally scare them with a fiery illusion, which finally sways him. Song Che had red eyes and said in a low voice, "Sister-in-law, I will protect you." Chapter 22 The Dark Corners of the City. People frequently disappear in the dependent area, and it is rumored that black shadows take away people's souls at night. Yunjin accidentally witnessed the black shadow attacking the person, and was shocked to find that the other party actually had the same symbol mark as Wang Walai's system. This made her realize that the system is not just an auxiliary one, but a predatory existence. Chapter 23 Bloody Ambush. Qin Yanzhou, ordered to escort military supplies, was ambushed. Arrows rained down on him, and he was severely wounded. Yunjin arrived, blue flames erupting from her palms, igniting into a shield that incinerated the incoming arrows. The soldiers, watching, were stunned and speechless. In his semi-conscious state, Qin Yanzhou saw only her figure, encircled by flames, a divine beauty. Chapter 24 Wang Walai's Hysteria. The system was confused again, and Wang Walai's face was distorted. She asked suddenly, "Why can't she intervene?" The system replied coldly, "Unknown energy source, extremely dangerous. Suggestion, obliterate." She bit her silver teeth and vowed to crush Yunjin completely. Chapter 25 Barracks Trial. The military sensed Yunjin's ability and arranged a secret test. She was forced to show off the power of fire in front of the generals, but she was given a different look. Some people appreciate it, some people are jealous, and it is more of a wordless calculation. Yunjin knew in her heart that she could no longer turn back on this road. Chapter 26 The Lost Monument. Qin Yanzhou accidentally found an ancient stele on the frontier, with a mutilated inscription engraved on it, recording the origin of the power of Embers. It is said that it is the power that can cut off fate, but because it is too dangerous, it has been sealed for thousands of years. Qin Yanzhou's heart was shaken, and he secretly thought about the connection between Yunjin and this power. Chapter 27 The Cage in the Mirror. When Yunjin was walking at night, he was dragged into a mirror world. There were broken phantoms of the Song family everywhere, and relatives fell one by one. Wang Walai appeared and sneered, "This is your ending." Yunjin was on the verge of collapse, but he ignited the flames all over his body and tore the mirror abruptly. Chapter 28 Adversity is United. When Qin Yanzhou returned from her injury, she saw fire in her eyes and was stunned for a long time. He held her hand and whispered, "You are no longer attached to anyone, you are the one who stands side by side with me." Yunjin burst into tears, but nodded with a smile. At that moment, she was no longer the weak woman of the past, but her new self. Chapter 29 Before the city is broken. The border city is in an emergency, and visions are frequent. The sky cracked and systematically turned into countless data torrents, eroding the city. The people were terrified and the morale of the army was shaken. Yunjin stepped forward, and the flames turned into a barrier, temporarily blocking the torrent. Everyone's eyes fell on her, and awe appeared in their eyes. Chapter 30 The Blood Covenant Oath. At the critical moment, Qin Yanzhou and Yunjin swore an oath with blood and formed an alliance of life and death. The flames and blood were intertwined, turning into a red mark imprinted on the palms of the two of them. They knew that this battle would be the beginning of a change in the world. Chapter 31 The Lord of Shadows. As night fell, a mournful wailing came from outside the city walls again. When the soldiers were patrolling, they found a group of black shadows gathering, their eyes glowing green. Qin Yanzhou drew his sword and led the troops to fight, but found that these black shadows were indestructible and would only split and be reborn. Yunjin sensed that the source came from a crack in the system, and flames gushed out from his palm, burning into a huge net, instantly burning the black shadow. Everyone on the city wall sighed, "This woman can compete with this guy." However, at the last moment when the black shadow dissipated, an even larger figure peeked out from the gap. It was the Lord of the Black Shadow, and roared in a low voice, "The power of burning embers finally came to this world." Chapter 32 System Integration. Wang Walai was swallowed up by fear and jealousy, and finally agreed to the system's proposal, complete integration. The cold data flow seeped into her flesh and blood, tearing apart her humanity. When the fusion was completed, half of her face turned into a silver machine, and the other half was still rosy skin. She laughed softly, "Yunjin, you can't escape after all." The system prompt sounded, "Fusion completed, combat power index, critical." Chapter 33 The Song Family Reunites. The Song brothers and sisters came to the border city to reunite with Yunjin. Song Che has shown his youthful heroism, and Song King he can also manage his livelihood alone. Although Song's mother was full of pain, she burst into tears because she saw the tenacity of her daughter and daughter-in-law. This reunion made Yunjin firmer in her belief, she couldn't lose because she had a home behind her. Chapter 34 Fragments of Ancient Steels. Qin Yanzhou took Yunjin to the ancient monument, and the two of them dripped with blood, and the inscription automatically lit up. The incomplete inscription emerges with the words, "Burning the embers will break the lock of life and reshape the universe." Yunjin's heart was shocked, and he understood that the power of his awakening was not just a coincidence, but an inevitability that history and fate had already laid out. Chapter 35 The city collapsed. Wang Walai led a shadowy army to the border town. A torrent of data transformed into a steel wall, its pressure causing the air to tremble. The city collapsed with a roar, and the people cried out in despair. Qin Yanzhou commanded his troops to defend the city, and blood flowed like a river. Yunjin stepped forward, and the raging fire transformed into a long dragon, colliding head-on with the data torrent. The two forces collided, and the heavens and the earth shook. Chapter 36 Illusion Trial. Wang Walai used a system illusion to trap Yunjin into it. In the illusion, Song Yu came back to life and called her name with a smile. Yunjin's tears rained down and she almost sank. But when she stretched out her hand, the illusion's eyes flashed with cold data light. She stopped suddenly and roared, "You are not him." The fire broke out, the illusion shattered, and she broke free from the temptation. Chapter 37 The Duel Between Fire and Steel. Yunjin and Wang Walai finally went head-to-head. Flames and steel bite each other, and the entire battlefield becomes purgatory. Wang Walai's mechanical body half flashed with silver light, and she laughed coldly, "Why are you fighting with me?" Yunjin was covered in blood, but his eyes were resolute, "Because I am not fighting for myself." Chapter 38 Bloody Sacrifice. The battle situation was critical, and Song Che stepped forward to block the blow in order to protect his sister, and blood gushed out in his chest. Yunjin hugged him, his heart like a knife. Song Che whispered with a smile, "Sister-in-law, don't cry. I know you're going to win." After saying that, his breath was cut off. Yunjin was filled with grief and anger, and the flames rose into the sky, turning into countless fire blades. Chapter 39 The Lock of Destiny. At the moment of the flame eruption, Yunjin saw an invisible chain hanging from the sky, locking the entire world. It is the shackles of fate, connected to the system. She understood that if she didn't cut the chain, it would only be a repetition of the tragedy no matter what. She decided to gamble everything and get the lock of fate. Chapter 40 The Secret Sacrifice Land. Qin Yanzhou led her into the ancient altar. Stone statues standing around the altar are ancient martyrs, with empty eyes as if they are staring at the comer. When Yunjin stepped into the center, fire surged from her body, and the stone statues bowed their heads in unison. Her heart vibrated. This power was left by the ancestors, and it was the watch of countless souls. Chapter 41 The Final Decision. Wang Walai, half human, half ghost, pursued them to the altar, her voice eerily overlapping, "My destiny belongs to me. You don't deserve it." With a wave of her hand, a torrent of data transformed into countless blades, bearing down on Yunjin. Qin Yanzhou met them head-on, his blood staining his uniform. He turned, his eyes filled with tenderness, "Jinner, do what you must do." Chapter 42 Ember Awakening. Yunjin's tears were blurred, but all the grief turned into fire. She raised her hands, and the flames instantly ignited the entire altar, and the heavens and the earth were engulfed in red light. In the flames, she saw the figures of Song Yu, Song Che, and countless revenants, who nodded silently and handed over their power to her. The power of the embers was completely awakened. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 43 The Battle of Destiny. Yunjin leaped into the chains of fate, flames enveloping her. The chains struggled, a sharp roar. Wang Walai, transformed into a giant digital shadow, lunged at him, screaming, "You can't win." Yunjin roared, condensing the burning embers into a giant sword and slashing down. The sword pierced the air, slicing through the chains of fate. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 44 The chains are broken. With a loud bang, the invisible chains shattered, and the data torrent collapsed instantly. Wang Walai's body was torn apart, and the silver machinery and flesh and blood exploded at the same time. Before she died, her eyes widened, full of unwillingness. Why? The voice dissipated into the fire. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 45 The World Reconstructed. After the sky shook, all the black shadows dissipated, and the cracks in the sky slowly healed. The people looked at the world in astonishment and knelt down and shouted. Qin Yanzhou was dying, but he held Yunjin's hand tightly and said in a low voice, "You did it." Underscore 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 un. Chapter 46 Embers and Tears. After the war, the Song family was devastated. Song's mother cried bitterly while holding Song Che's relics, and Song Qinghe silently took on the family business. Yunjin's heart was sad, but he had no regrets. Because she knew that without this ember, there would be no future. Qin Yanzhou was seriously injured and difficult to heal, so Yunjin stayed by the bed day and night, taking good care of him. He smiled, "You are no longer a person who is sheltered, you are already a person who can protect others." Underscore 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 un. Chapter 47 Embers Embers. When the vision subsided, the altar was reduced to ashes, leaving only a fiery red crystal. Yunjin put it away as a symbol of new life. She understood that the power of the ember was not just a weapon, but also a responsibility. She wants to use this power to pave the way for future generations. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 48 The New Order. After Wang Walai's death, the local forces were leaderless. Qin Yanzhou and Yunjin worked together to promote the reconstruction of order. The children of the Song family gradually emerged and took on new responsibilities. The people live in peace, the army is revitalized, and the world seems to have finally ushered in a new dawn. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 49 The Spring Breeze Rises Again. When spring came, Yunjin sat in the small courtyard of the Song family and heard the laughter of children chasing. She stared at the flowers and trees blooming, and her heart was soft. Qin Yanzhou returned, his back straight, and he gently put his hand on her shoulder. She raised her eyes and smiled. This time, she is not a lonely soul in a dream, but a real living person. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 50 Fate Embers. In the setting sun, Yunjin and Qin Yanzhou stood side by side. She whispered, "In this life, I don't seek glory, I only wish for the well-being of my family." Qin Yanzhou stared at her, his eyes firm. "With me here, you don't have to be alone anymore." The fiery red sunset reflected the sky, as if the flames of the embers were still protecting. Yunjin took a deep breath, her eyes clear and bright. She finally understood that this was not a rebirth, but a real rebirth.